Hey everybody, Ryan Dobson here with Rebel Parenting. We've got a special episode for you today that's a little bit longer than 5 minutes. It's about 20 minutes, but I have 3 guests. I have Andrew Peterson, the author of the Wingfeather Saga book, Chris Wall, the illustrator for the new animated series based on Wingfeather, and most importantly, my daughter Luci. I traveled to Nashville recently for the premiere of the Wingfeather Saga animated series, and it blew me away. I got to speak with the author of the book, Andrew Peterson, and the illustrator, Chris Wall, at the same time. We've got a great conversation towards the end of this broadcast. We get interrupted in the middle. You get a little behind-the-scenes look if you're watching this on YouTube. But I hope you enjoyed this. You can go to angel.com right now and see the first 2 episodes of the Wingfeather Saga animated series. It is great for kids. It's great for families. Adults will like it, and there's no junk. Absolutely spectacular. All right. Here is my daughter Luci and I talking about the Wingfeather Saga. Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Dobson, and with me today is my daughter,
Luci Dobson.
How old are you?
I am 10 years old.
And today we're going to talk to you about the Wingfeather Saga. As you know, I traveled to Nashville recently for the red carpet premiere, but Luci and I watched the first episode of the Wingfeather Saga on Angel Studios, and we loved it. And instead of me talking all about it, I thought I'd bring Luci on today and ask her, who's your favorite character in the Wingfeather Saga?
Lily.
Yeah? And why do you like Lily?
Because she's loving and spontaneous and brave, and I like her singing.
Oh my goodness, the singing is astounding. I gotta be honest, during the dragon song, I got a little emotional. I just wasn't expecting it. It was so pretty. What'd you think?
It was really good, and I liked all of the food descriptions.
Oh yeah.
And then I also liked the toothy cow, because it's a cow. It has big teeth to make it look scary. The dragons on Dragon Day look cool. And those big beasts, like lizard things.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
It was such an amazing, it's an adventure. The story was great. The singing is good. The message is good. There's nothing to worry about in it. And I give it 2 thumbs up. What do you think, Lou?
I give it 2 thumbs up, too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We recommend the Wingfeather Saga on Angel Studios, and you can find links in the show description. We'll see you soon. Sure.
We talked very briefly. So nice to see you.
You're like, I don't believe you, but all right.
No,
My brother.
I meet lots of people, so who knows?
My brother worked for your dad for his separate ministry for a number of years, and just left a couple years ago to go chase his own thing. So
I got to tell you, I watched with my daughter last night. She's 10. I watched the first episode, and when I was working with my dad, we had a ton of people bring movies in.
I know.
And after about 2 of them, I looked at him and I was like, you can never have me on the radio with a movie again. And he was like, why? I go, because I can't lie to people and tell them it's good. These are terrible.
Yeah.
They are awful, and you're lying to people.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, they tried their best. I'm like, I don't care. Parents don't have the money for this. You spend $50 going to the movies and it stinks. My daughter was riveted start to finish, because I watched her watch it, you know, because I've seen it already.
Yeah.
So I was watching it, but the whole time I'm like, you know.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Did she know the story at all?
No, not at all. It was brand new. She held my hand for part of it. She got sad in part of it. Oh, everything.
I'm
was just
so
like,
happy to hear it. It's so weird to be on this side of it where nobody's seen it yet.
Right.
We've done all this work, and like
you're dying
tonight's
to
the
be
first
like,
time to be like,
What do people think? Tonight is
'Cause
like the
it's
largest
great.
test audience, like 1,700 people that we're going to see if they like it.
Oh, I got teary. Like,
I'm so glad.
yeah, it's so funny. I was a horrible parent when my kids were little. Like, just awful. All fear-based.
Okay.
Oh, it's just the worst. I was so afraid of being a bad Dobson that I was a terrible Dobson.
That's funny.
Went to therapy with my kid for quite some time.
Yeah.
But now we're very okay with emotions, and you know, the most thing we tell little girls is, "It's okay, don't cry, it's okay." That's super mean.
Yeah, it's okay, cry.
Yeah, and I saw her look over at me, and I knew I had tears in my eyes, and it's shining off the TV, and she reached over and took my hand.
Oh,
and
I love it. That's so good.
At one point, she's like, "Daddy, this is so sad." Oh, like, I know, isn't it, baby?
Gosh, I love that. So
And
much.
that. Sorry.
We're just like
I guess we
diving
should
in
go.
here.
I know.
I was rolling this whole time.
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
Fantastic. I got to ask, because I've been watching it with Luci, and I have a 16-year-old son, and he loves action movies, and I do too. So we watch a ton of them. And every now and then, though, I'll choose a movie, and I go, "Hey, this is a really good movie, and you're going to like it. It's also going to stretch you a little bit." And that means it may not be as action-packed, or it might have some other themes in it like that. And the cartoons they're putting out for kids today are garbage. And I don't say that as like a pious Christian, like, oh, it's so terrible. It's just bad. The writing's bad. The art is bad. In fact, I won't even name the series, but they turned a movie into a cartoon. And 3 episodes in, my daughter, who was 8 at the time, she goes, "Hey, this is just that other show." They had literally taken another cartoon. Every single episode, they had just transferred it over and copied it, and she picked it out. And I was like, ugh, it's so poor. Your writing stretches younger readers and I think younger viewers. You know, at one point, my daughter said, "Daddy, this is so sad." And I felt bad. I was smiling. I'm like, I know, isn't it? And I'm smiling big because it stretches her a little bit. We get to talk about deeper things. How do you walk that tightrope? Because it's very interesting. My 10-year-old likes it. My 16-year-old likes it. I'm 52. I loved it. That's a very hard thing to accomplish.
It's so simple because I think that for us, just make what we want to watch. I mean, I think that was an early recipe at Pixar. Like those guys were like, "We're not that smart. We're just making stuff we want to watch." And I think if you do that with a mind that there are kids in the room, right? So you don't go too far. So you don't, you're not gratuitous with things. But there's this simple like, go with what you love, And I think sometimes those cartoons that we don't like, because it's somebody who actually doesn't love it, and they're making it for someone who they don't care for, right? It's a job.
Yep.
And so I've seen some of that, right? And it's just like, this isn't part of you. And I think this whole team, we got to read these novels by Andrew and go, oh my gosh, we love these.
Yeah.
And what would it look like to help tell that story in this way forward, all loving it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that care and love and affection for it translates, right? And then holding it in balance. That I think there's a real check between us of like, okay, it's too many words. Let's just do about half those words.
Sure.
Or this is getting a little saccharine, and this is getting a little inauthentic.
Yeah, we're trying to just tell the truth as beautifully as we can. And so that when there are moments when the dialogue just kind of feels like, this doesn't feel like the way a real person would say this. Let's tweak it.
Sure.
So it's animated, but at the same time we want it to feel gritty and real, and like the characters are actually round characters. And
yes.
So the way when you hear people talk, you're
Mm-hmm.
hearing them say things the way that actual people say them, not the way cartoon people say them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's deeper. It is the way real people talk, and they have real feelings and emotions throughout the. I'm only in the first episode, but there are very real emotions, and not just real. There are questions. I don't want to give it away. There are questions about emotions in the first episode. Why do I feel this so much bigger than another person? That's a really interesting thing especially for children, but for adults to contemplate their own feelings. I got to ask what it was like for you in a way. I mean, you've got a baby, right? You put all this blood, sweat, tears into. What if it doesn't look good? I mean, how do you have those conversations where you're like, it's I don't think we're going the right direction, or how did you choose?
Yeah, well, Chris has a better answer for this. As for me, it was part of the reason that I wanted to work with Chris was because first and foremost, he loved the story, and I felt like he got the heart of the thing. And so if you're gonna like give somebody the keys and say, hey, will you take on this project, I wanted to be somebody that I really trusted, and I really trusted Chris.
Right?
And also, he had the experience, and we just had we're about the same age, so we just had a similar aesthetic. Like, we were missing the same thing in the landscape of animation and storytelling. We both were like, what if there was a thing that did this? And I think but there was a lot of synergy there, right?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, I mean, we talk about like the experience of watching Disney films when we were all kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then Don Bluth showed up in Secret of NIMH, an American Tale, and it was like, what happened? Why is this animation, but it's different? That kind of turn. We wanted something like that. And
when I was little, it's the only time in my life we went to a Disney movie. It was The Rescuers, the original. And I'm
love
trying to
that
think of
movie.
what year that would have been. Maybe late 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s, yeah.
It was so well done. My dad liked it so much, we stayed to watch it again.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So we watched it twice back to back. And I can remember, this is interesting because, I grew up in a moralist family, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I innately knew, hey, we didn't pay for it again. Are we doing the right thing?
Right.
On the way out, my dad stopped and said, we watched it a second time. Would you like me to pay for a second time? They're like, oh, no, it's fine.
Oh, wow.
And I remember
cool.
it so distinctly, but I remember him talking about it. And again, it was like a stretching thing. He was explaining to my sister and I the story and why it was better than some of the other cartoons we were watching. Wow. And the animation, his dad was an artist, he's an artist, and he was fascinated by the animation. And I'm telling you, your animation, it's really, really good.
Oh,
Thank you. Our lead animator, Keith Lango is our animation supervisor, and our lead animator, Ron Smith, had just been really devoted to exactly what we're talking about. Like, don't fuss with an action, like be grounded, let that character really be in the world. And you'll see as the series progresses, there are choices they make that we delight in because they're like, oh, that guy's thinking. They're not I think in a lot of TV animation in particular, they get a little stilted, right?
Sure.
You can really get the broad action. And frankly, there's all the story elements that come into the casting, right? So in a lot of our space, there's this broadcasting, right? Of like, really crass or really just kind of snarky. And we didn't want any of that.
Right.
Like let's be more round, as Andrew said, like let's be more fully developed characters. By grounding that in the voices, that allows the animator to say, oh, I can make more interesting choices. I don't have to just do the broad cartoon thing. I don't have to be kind of one-dimensional. I can actually think through what this character's thinking, and out comes the result. So it starts with the story, right, and works all the way through.
I got to tell you, it's fantastic. I was so thrilled with my daughter loving it so much because I knew I was coming here. Like, what do I do if she didn't like it? Oh, she adored it. It was fantastic. We can't wait for the next episodes, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, yeah.
So encouraging.
That was good, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, baby.
I forgot to do you.
You want to ask me again?
Yeah.
All right.
Daddy, what was your favorite part of the Wingfeather Saga?
My favorite part was Dragon Day when Lily started singing and then the dragon sang back. That was my favorite.
Who's your favorite character?
Ooh. I like the grandpa. I like him. He was wood carving in the beginning. I liked him. And I like the illustrations. Everything about it's beautiful. We totally loved it. Thanks, baby.